Don't you see? Ash, they're alive!
These are 15 controversial films from the 80s that Hollywood fought to keep from audiences. William Friedkin's career killer that gay activists protested. Brian De Palma getting death threats over 2 different films. The 80s weren't just about blockbusters. Some filmmakers were pushing boundaries, and Hollywood tried to stop them. Movie 1, Cruising, 1980. Al Pacino.
You're very funny. You got a place? Yeah, I have a place.
William Friedkin made The French Connection and The Exorcist. Then in 1980, he made Cruising and destroyed his career. Al Pacino plays an undercover cop investigating murders in New York's gay leather scene. The gay community protested the production. United Artists barely released it, and the controversy buried what could have been a hit. The film is about a serial killer targeting gay men in leather bars. Pacino goes undercover in that world. The film shows the leather scene explicitly, the clubs, the intimacy, the subculture. Friedkin shot documentary style in real clubs with real patrons. He wanted authenticity. Gay activists saw the script and freaked out. They said it portrayed gay men as violent and predatory. They protested the shoot, blew whistles to ruin audio, got in shots deliberately, harassed the crew. Friedkin kept filming, but the production became a nightmare. United Artists got nervous. They demanded cuts. Friedkin cut 40 minutes. The final film is incoherent because so much is missing. The mystery doesn't work. The character development is gone. But even butchered, the gay community protested theaters showing it. The film opened in February of 1980 to protests and bomb threats. Critics were confused by the choppy editing. Roger Ebert gave it 2 stars. At the box office, it made about $20 million on $11 million budget. Not a disaster, but not the hit UA wanted. Friedkin's reputation never recovered. He was seen as homophobic, exploitative. He defended the film for years, saying he was just showing a subculture honestly. But the damage was done. He made a few more films in the 80s, but nothing clicked. Pacino refused to discuss it for decades. He called it one of his worst experiences. And Cruising remains this controversial mess that nobody knows how to evaluate. A film destroyed by protests before anyone even saw it. Movie 2, Dressed to Kill, 1980. Michael Caine.
Tell Mike he makes you mad.
Tell him he stinks in bed?
Does he?
Brian De Palma made a Hitchcock homage about a serial killer in 1980. The killer is revealed to be a transgender woman. The transgender community and feminist groups lost their minds. De Palma spent months fighting the MPAA for an R rating, and the controversy turned what should have been a hit into a battleground. Angie Dickinson plays a frustrated housewife who gets murdered in an elevator. Nancy Allen plays a call girl who witnesses it. Michael Caine plays the psychiatrist connected to the killer. The film is stylish and suspenseful, De Palma directing at his peak. But the transgender killer twist caused massive problems. The transgender community protested. They said the film portrayed trans people as violent and insane. Feminist groups said it was misogynistic. The shower murder scene, the elevator killing. De Palma filming violence against women with Hitchcockian style. They called it exploitative. The MPAA gave it an X rating for the violence and sexuality. De Palma had to cut the shower scene, the elevator murder, the museum sequence. He made 27 different cuts before finally getting an R. The film lost crucial moments. The suspense suffered. Filmways released it in July of 1980 into protests. Theater owners received threats. Critics were divided. Pauline Kael loved it. Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars. But the controversy overshadowed everything. At the box office, it made $31 million on $6 million budget. A hit, but not the blockbuster it could have been. De Palma became a target. Feminists called him a misogynist. He'd deal with that label for the rest of his career. And Dressed to Kill became this divisive film where people fought about the politics instead of discussing the craftsmanship. The transgender community's anger was legitimate, but the film got buried under controversy instead of being judged as a thriller. Movie 3, Videodrome, 1983. James Woods. David Cronenberg made a film about reality, media, and body horror in 1983. Universal had no idea what to do with it. Videodrome is about a cable programmer who discovers a broadcast signal showing real torture and murder. Then things get weird, really weird. His body starts changing. Reality breaks down. Universal couldn't market it and barely released it. James Woods plays Max Wren, the programmer. He's searching for extreme content for his station. He finds Videodrome, a show that's just torture and murder, no plot, no context. He becomes obsessed. Then hallucinations start. His stomach opens up into a VCR slot. He grows a gun out of his hand. Deborah Harry plays his girlfriend, who disappears into Videodrome. Cronenberg was making a film about how media affects consciousness, how watching violence changes you physically. The body horror effects by Rick Baker are incredible and disgusting. The stomach slot, the pulsing videotapes that look like organs, the TV that breathes. It's Cronenberg at his most provocative. Universal wanted a sci-fi thriller. They got an art film about media theory with graphic body horror. They had no idea how to sell it. The marketing campaign was confused. The trailers didn't explain anything. They just showed weird imagery that confused audiences. The film opened in February of '83 and died. Made $2 million on a $6 million budget. Critics didn't know what to make of it. Roger Ebert gave it 2 stars and seemed baffled. Variety called it incoherent. Audiences who did see it walked out confused. Universal buried it quickly and pretended it never happened. Cronenberg's career stalled. It wasn't until years later, when the film got reappraised, that people understood what he was doing. Now it's considered prescient. A film about how media warps reality made before the internet existed. But in '83, Universal just wanted it gone. Movie 4, Scarface, 1983. Al Pacino.
And my father, he was from the United States. Yeah, just like you know. He was a Yankee.
Brian De Palma and Oliver Stone made a gangster epic in 1983 with violence so extreme, the MPAA threatened an X rating 3 times. Scarface is about a Cuban refugee who becomes a Miami drug lord. The violence is graphic, the language is profane, and Universal fought for months to get it released with an R. Al Pacino plays Tony Montana with a ridiculous accent and over-the-top intensity. He's a monster. The film doesn't glamorize him. He murders. He snorts mountains of cocaine. He destroys everyone around him. The chainsaw scene in the bathroom. The final shootout where he gets shot dozens of times. The violence is operatic and extreme. The MPAA kept giving it an X for violence. De Palma would cut. They'd give it X again. He cut more. X again. After 3 submissions and dozens of cuts, they finally gave it an R. But De Palma later admitted the version that got rated R was exactly the same as the first submission. He just resubmitted it unchanged and they passed it. Universal released it in December of '83. Critics hated it. Vincent Canby called it a disaster. Pauline Kael destroyed it. Roger Ebert gave it 1.5 stars. At the box office, it made $45 million on $25 million budget. Disappointing. The film was too violent, too long, too excessive. Audiences in '83 weren't ready for it. Pacino's performance was seen as cartoonish. The film as a whole was considered a failure. Then hip-hop discovered it in the '90s. Rappers quoted it, referenced it. It became a cultural phenomenon decades after release. Now it's a classic. But in '83, Universal barely wanted to release it. The MPAA tried to kill it with an X, and critics buried it. Only time redeemed Scarface. Movie 5, Blue Velvet, 1986. Dennis Hopper.
Oh. You're from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Your neighbor.
David Lynch made his most disturbing film in 1986. Blue Velvet is about the darkness beneath suburban America, the sexual violence, the sadism, Dennis Hopper huffing gas and abusing Isabella Rossellini. De Laurentiis Entertainment released it, and audiences were horrified. Critics were divided, and everyone agreed Lynch had made something genuinely upsetting. Kyle MacLachlan plays a college student who finds a severed ear in a field. He investigates and discovers a nightclub singer played by Rossellini trapped in an abusive relationship with a psychotic criminal played by Hopper. MacLachlan becomes voyeuristically obsessed, then involved. The film spirals into sexual violence and surreal nightmare imagery. Hopper is terrifying as Frank Booth, the gas huffing, the way he abuses Rossellini, the mommy stuff. It's psychosexual horror played completely serious. Lynch doesn't wink at the audience. He makes you watch sustained abuse and asks why you're still watching. The rating board gave it an X initially. Lynch had to cut the most explicit sexual violence. Even with cuts, it barely got an R. De Laurentiis released it in September of '86 with minimal marketing. They didn't know how to sell Lynch's vision of American darkness. Critics were split violently. Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars and called it a masterpiece. Pauline Coyle hated it. Many critics called it misogynistic. Rossellini defended Lynch, but others said the film exploited sexual violence. Audiences who saw it were disturbed. Some called it art. Others called it sick. The film made $8 million on $6 million budget. Barely broke even. De Laurentiis wanted a hit and got a controversial art film. Lynch's career was in limbo again, too weird for mainstream success, too disturbing for easy critical acceptance. It's been reevaluated over decades. Now it's considered a masterpiece. But in '86, it was just this disturbing film that made everyone uncomfortable. And De Laurentiis tried to bury it after poor box office. Movie 6, Angel Heart, 1987. Mickey Rourke, Lisa Bonet.
This guy Favorite, he was friends with your mama back in New York City before the war.
Yeah, she never told me.
Alan Parker made a noir horror film in 1987. Mickey Rourke plays a detective investigating a missing person case that turns supernatural. Lisa Bonet from The Cosby Show plays a young woman who has a graphic, intimate scene with Rourke. That scene got the film an X rating and caused a massive scandal. The intimate scene involves blood. Lots of blood. It's intercut with voodoo imagery, chickens being killed, religious symbolism. It's not pornographic, but it's intense and disturbing. Bonet was 20 years old, America's sweetheart from the biggest sitcom on TV. Seeing her in that scene shocked audiences. The MPAA gave it an X. TriStar demanded cuts. Parker cut 10 seconds. They still gave it X. He cut more, finally got it to R after removing much of the blood and religious imagery. But the controversy was already massive. Bill Cosby was furious. Bonet's wholesome image was destroyed. NBC threatened her job on The Cosby Show. TriStar released it in March of '87 into a firestorm. The marketing emphasized the controversy. Pray it's not too late. Parents groups protested. Religious groups called it satanic. At the box office, it made $17 million on $18 million budget. A flop. The film is actually good. Parker directed it stylishly. Rourke is great. Robert De Niro has a memorable supporting role as the devil, but the Bonet controversy overshadowed everything. People talked about that one scene instead of the film. Bonet's career suffered. She left The Cosby Show, struggled to shake the controversy. Parker made a few more films, but nothing major. And Angel Heart became this forgotten noir that everybody remembers for the wrong reasons. Not for the mystery or the horror, just for Lisa Bonet, covered in blood. TriStar tried to sell that controversy, and it backfired completely. Movie 7, The Evil Dead, 1981. Bruce Campbell.
Shut up!
Sam Raimi made a low-budget horror film in 1981 that got banned in multiple countries for a tree rape scene. The Evil Dead is about 5 friends in a cabin who unleash demons. The violence is extreme, the tree attack is infamous, and the film got caught up in the UK video, Nasty Panic. The tree scene is exactly what it sounds like. A woman goes into the woods. Demon-possessed vines attack her. It's sexual assault committed by a tree. Raimi was 21 when he made this and clearly didn't think through the implications. The scene is disturbing and unnecessary. The rest of the film is just extreme gore, dismemberment, possession, gallons of blood. Raimi shot it in Tennessee with friends for $350,000. The effects by Tom Sullivan are impressive for the budget. The violence is constant and creative. New Line picked it up for distribution in October of '81. It played midnight shows and grindhouses. Critics were mixed. Roger Ebert gave it 2 stars. Stephen King praised it. At the box office, it made about $2.5 million. Not bad for the budget. Then the UK banned it as a video nasty in '84. The tree scene was the main reason. Feminist groups protested. The film became notorious as forbidden content. That actually helped it in the long run. The banned status made it a cult hit. Raimi spent years defending the tree scene and eventually admitted it was a mistake. He toned down the sexual violence in the sequels, but that first film remains controversial. The UK didn't lift the ban until 2001, 20 years. The film launched Raimi's career and the careers of Bruce Campbell and producer Rob Tappert. But that tree scene is an ugly stain on what's otherwise an impressive debut. New Line barely promoted it originally because they were embarrassed by the content. Movie 8, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, 1986. Michael Rooker.
Did you really kill your mama?
What?
Did you really kill your mama?
John McNaughton made a serial killer film in 1986 based on real killer Henry Lee Lucas. It's so realistic, so unglamorous, so disturbing that no distributor would touch it for 3 years. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, sat unreleased because it was too good at what it did. Michael Rooker plays Henry. He kills randomly, no pattern, no motive, just murder. Tom Towles plays his friend Otis. They kill a family and videotape it. The film shows the tape, a long, static shot of casual murder. No music, no drama, just documentation of murder. It's one of the most disturbing scenes ever put in a film. McNaughton shot it in Chicago for $110,000. He wanted it to feel like a documentary. Grainy 16mm, natural lighting, no score for most of it. The violence isn't stylized. When Henry kills people, it's ugly and quick. There's no catharsis, no justice, just death. The MPAA gave it an X for violence. McNaughton refused to cut it. He said the violence had to be that realistic to make the point, that serial killers aren't glamorous movie monsters. They're pathetic, empty people who commit horrific acts. The film has no heroes, no redemption. Just Henry killing and the film watching him do it. No distributor wanted it. Too violent for an R. McNaughton wouldn't accept an X. It sat on the shelf for 3 years. Finally, in '89, Grey Cat Films gave it a limited release unrated. Critics who saw it were shaken. Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars and called it one of the most disturbing films he'd ever seen. It made $600,000 in limited release. The home video release made more. It's now considered one of the best serial killer films ever made. But for 3 years, it was too real for anyone to release. And most people still haven't seen it. Movie 9, The Cook, The Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover, 1989. Helen Mirren.
He's been in prison in South Africa. He's as black as the ace of spades, and he probably drinks his own pee.
Peter Greenaway made a film about power, cruelty, and cannibalism in 1989. The Cook, The Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover is visually stunning, deeply disturbing, and ends with Helen Mirren eating her murdered lover. Miramax bought it and had no idea how to release it. Michael Gambon plays a brutal gangster who owns a restaurant. He verbally and physically abuses everyone, especially his wife, played by Mirren. She starts an affair with a customer, played by Alan Howard, The gangster finds out and has the lover killed. The wife and the cook conspire to cook the body. Then she forces the gangster to eat it at gunpoint. The film is an allegory about Thatcher's Britain, about class, about consumption. But it's also extremely graphic. There's nudity throughout. The violence is brutal. A boy has his belly button cut off. The murder of the lover is shown. And the final scene of cannibalism is explicit. The MPAA gave it an X. Greenaway refused to cut anything. Miramax decided to release it unrated in one theater in New York in April of '90. They expanded slowly. The Catholic League protested. Some theaters refused to book it. Critics were divided. Roger Ebert gave it 3 stars. The film made $7 million in limited release. Not bad for an unrated art film, but Miramax wanted more. They'd paid good money for it and got stuck with an unsellable art film about cannibalism. Greenaway's career in America was basically over after this. He was too provocative, too weird. The film developed a cult following, but it never broke through. Miramax buried it after the limited run. It's never gotten the restoration or release it deserves. Just another controversial 80s art film that was too much for American audiences. Movie 10, Maniac, 1980. Joe Spinell. William Lustig made a slasher film in 1980 about a scalping serial killer in New York. Maniac stars Joe Spinell as Frank Zito, a mommy-obsessed psychopath who murders women and scalps them. The film is grimy, brutal, and misogynistic. Feminist groups protested. The MPAA gave it an X, and the film became notorious as one of the most violent slashers of the era. Spinell plays Frank as pathetic and monstrous. He talks to mannequins. He kills women he's attracted to. The murders are graphic. Tom Savini did the effects, and they're disturbingly realistic. The shotgun to the head scene, the scalping, the intestines. It's all practical, and it all looks real. The film's attitude toward women is the real problem. Every woman in the film exists to be terrorized and murdered. The camera lingers on their fear and suffering. Lustig claimed he was making a character study of a serial killer. Feminists said he was just exploiting violence against women for entertainment. Analysis Film released it in December of '80 to protests. Theater owners in multiple cities refused to show it. In Times Square, feminists picketed with signs reading, "Maniac glorifies violence against women." They weren't wrong. At the box office, it made about $6 million on $350,000, a huge hit for a low-budget slasher. The film developed a cult following, but the protests followed it. The UK banned it. It didn't get released uncut there until 2001. Caroline Munro, who co-starred later, said she regretted doing it. Spinell defended it until his death in '89. Lustig made a few more horror films, but nothing as controversial. And Maniac remains this ugly, brutal slasher that crosses the line from horror into misogyny. Analysis barely promoted it after the protests. They just let it play grindhouses and collect money while looking the other way. Movie 11, Body Double, 1984. Craig Wasson.
Are you okay?
Brian De Palma made another Hitchcock homage in 1984, this time involving the porn industry. Body Double is about a voyeur who witnesses a murder, but maybe didn't. Melanie Griffith plays a porn star who becomes crucial to the mystery. The scenes of De Palma filming the porn world got him attacked again as a misogynist. Columbia barely knew how to release it. Craig Wasson plays an actor who house sits and becomes obsessed with watching a neighbor through a telescope. He witnesses her murder. Or did he? The film is pure De Palma. Long Steadicam shots, split screen, Hitchcock references, and then it goes into the porn world and everything gets uncomfortable. Griffith's character is a porn actress. De Palma shows the adult film set, the filming, the mechanics of the industry. It's not pornographic, but it's explicit about the process. The MPAA fought him on it. He had to cut multiple scenes to avoid an X rating. Feminist critics destroyed him again. 3 controversial films in 4 years. Dressed to Kill, Blowout, now this. They called him a pornographer disguised as an artist. De Palma defended his work, but the attacks were taking a toll. Columbia released it in October of '84 with minimal marketing. They were embarrassed by the porn content. Critics were harsh. Roger Ebert gave it 2 stars. At the box office, it made $8 million on $10 million budget, a flop. Griffith's career was fine, but De Palma's reputation was damaged. He left Hollywood for a while after this, went to Europe, made The Untouchables 3 years later, and rehabilitated his career. But Body Double remains this forgotten thriller that Columbia tried to distance themselves from. Not sexual enough to be exploitation. Too sleazy to be a prestige thriller. Just an uncomfortable film about voyeurism and porn that nobody wanted. Movie 12, Society, 1989, Billy Warlock.
Blanchard? No!
Let's get this one out of here.
Yes, Doctor.
Easy.
Brian Usna made a body horror satire about the wealthy elite literally feeding on the poor. Society sat unreleased in the US for 3 years because no distributor knew what to do with the finale, where rich people melt together in an orgy and absorb a human body. Billy Warlock plays Bill Whitney, a kid from a wealthy family in Beverly Hills who realizes something's wrong with the people around him, his family, his friends, the whole upper class. They're not human, or they are human, but they can transform into these grotesque creatures that absorb other people through their skin. The film is allegory, the rich literally consuming the poor. But the effects by Screaming Mad George are so extreme, so graphic, so genuinely disturbing that the message gets lost. The shunting sequence at the end, where bodies melt and fuse together in this orgy of flesh. It's 20 minutes of practical body horror that looks like nothing else ever filmed. Usna shot it in '89. It played festivals in Europe. Critics at Cannes were horrified. No American distributor would touch it. Too weird, too gross. Not scary enough to be horror, not funny enough to be comedy. Just this bizarre body horror satire that defied genre. Finally, in '92, Screaming Mad George's company self-distributed it to a few theaters. It made almost nothing, went to video quickly. Developed a cult following among people who love weird body horror, but it never broke through to mainstream awareness. Usna went on to make Reanimator sequels and other horror films. But Society remains his most extreme work. A film that sat unreleased for 3 years because the shunting sequence was too disturbing for American distributors. Not violent, not sexual, just viscerally wrong. And nobody knew how to market that. Movie 13, Santa Sangre, 1989. Axel Jodorowsky.
No puedes quedarte aquí dentro para siempre, sin ver a nadie.
Alejandro Jodorowsky made his comeback film in 1989 after a decade away from cinema. Santa Sangre is about a circus performer psychologically controlled by his armless mother, who uses him as her hands to commit murders. It's surreal, violent, disturbing, and poetic. And American distributors had no idea what to do with a Jodorowsky film in the late 80s. Axel Jodorowsky, the director's son, plays Phoenix as an adult. Blanca Guerra plays his mother, who lost her arms when his father threw acid on her. She makes Phoenix be her arms. They do a knife-throwing act. Then she uses him to murder women he's attracted to. He has no agency. He's just her instrument for revenge. The film is stunning visually. Jodorowsky returned to his El Topo and Holy Mountain style. Surreal imagery, religious symbolism, beautiful and disturbing in equal measure. The elephant funeral, the painted women, the murder sequences that play like opera. But it's also extremely violent. The murders are graphic, throats slashed, blood everywhere. And the psychological horror of a son controlled by his mother, the sexual dysfunction, the madness. It's psycho-filtered through Jodorowsky's surreal sensibility. The film premiered at film festivals in '89. Critics loved it. It won multiple awards. But American distributors were afraid of it. Jodorowsky had a reputation for being uncommercial. His films were art house. Weird. This was no different. Intersound picked it up and gave it a tiny release in '90. A few art house theaters. It made maybe $400,000. Went to video quickly. The people who saw it called it a masterpiece. But most people never got the chance. Jodorowsky's American career was basically over. He worked in Europe and Mexico. Sangre remains this beautiful, disturbing film that almost nobody saw because distributors were too afraid of Jodorowsky's vision. Movie 14, Combat Shock, 1984. Ricky Giovinazzo.
Many men have tried. They tried and died.
Hey, come on now, that's not...
Twinsies, da 8, Point Waxine, 4. Buddy Giovinazzo made a film about a Vietnam veteran suffering in poverty in Staten Island. Combat Shock is so bleak, so hopeless, so brutally realistic that it couldn't get real distribution. Trauma picked it up and buried it among their trash. It deserved better. Ricky Giovinazzo plays Frankie, a vet with PTSD living in squalor with his wife and deformed baby. He can't get a job. He's addicted to drugs. He owes money to loan sharks. The film just watches him spiral through one horrible day. It ends with him murdering his family and himself. No hope, no redemption, just despair. The film cost $40,000. Shot in real Staten Island slum locations. Everything looks dirty and desperate. The baby is a deformed prop that's genuinely disturbing. The violence is sudden and ugly. Frankie's flashbacks to Vietnam are nightmarish. Giovinazzo was making a serious film about how America abandons its veterans, about poverty and PTSD. But the film is so punishing, so relentlessly grim that nobody wanted to watch it. There's no entertainment value, just suffering for 90 minutes. Trauma bought it in '86 and released it on VHS in '88 as exploitation. They marketed it as violent trash. That's not what it is. It's a serious drama about veteran suicide and poverty. But Trauma buried it among their comedy horror garbage. The film found a tiny cult audience, people who appreciated what Giovinazzo was trying to do. But most Trauma fans just thought it was depressing and boring. Giovinazzo made a few more films, but nothing got traction. And Combat Shock remains this lost film about Vietnam that's too honest and too bleak for anyone to champion. It's better than its reputation. But Trauma ensured it would never get a fair assessment by treating it like cheap exploitation when it's actually a serious anti-war film. Movie 15, Nekromantik, 1987. Daktari, Lorenz. Jörg Buttgereit made a German film about necrophilia in 1987. Nekromantik is about a man who works cleaning up crime scenes and brings home body parts for sexual purposes. It's graphic, disturbing, and has been banned in multiple countries for over 30 years. Daktari Lorenz and Beatrice Manowski play a couple whose relationship is based on their shared necrophilia fetish. He brings home a corpse. They have a threesome with it. She leaves him for the corpse. He gets depressed and kills himself while masturbating with a knife. It's every bit as disturbing as it sounds. Buttgereit shot it in grainy black and white for $8,000. It's obviously low budget, but the practical effects are disturbingly convincing. The corpse, the gore, the final suicide scene, all practical, all graphic. The film doesn't flinch from showing exactly what's happening. The film played underground screenings in Germany, got banned almost immediately. The UK banned it. Australia banned it. Most countries banned it. It's still banned in multiple places today. Not because it's violent in the traditional sense, but because it shows sexual acts with corpses. Buttgereit claimed he was making a film about loneliness and alienation, that the necrophilia was metaphor. Nobody bought that excuse. The film is explicit about what it's showing. There's no metaphorical distance, it's just a film about necrophilia. The film developed a cult following among extreme horror fans, people who pride themselves on watching the most disturbing content available. But it's never gotten anything approaching mainstream attention. No legitimate distributor will touch it. It exists on bootleg DVDs and dark corners of the internet. Buttgereit made a sequel that's somehow even more extreme, and his career has been relegated to underground extreme cinema. Nekromantik remains one of the most banned films of the '80s, and probably deserves to be. Al Pacino undercover in the gay leather scene caused riots in the streets. A Cosby Show star in an intimate scene so explicit the film got an X rating. A serial killer film so realistic it sat unreleased for 3 years because no distributor would touch it. And David Lynch made a film so disturbing that even his defenders didn't know what to say about it. These were 15 controversial films from the 80s that Hollywood either tried to bury or fought to keep from audiences. Friedkin's career destroyed. De Palma attacked as a misogynist repeatedly. Cronenberg too weird for Universal. Lynch too disturbing for easy consumption. And multiple films that just sat unreleased because they crossed lines nobody wanted crossed. The 80s produced blockbusters, but it also produced these films, provocative, disturbing, controversial, films that tested boundaries and paid the price. Hollywood tried to keep you from seeing them. Some of them you probably shouldn't see.